I just felt like you were older.
Yeah.
By what, like 7 seconds?
4 minutes.
4 minutes.
And she makes it feel like 4 years, I promise you.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Wide Awake Podcast. I'm your host, Joshua Rubin, and today we have a very special guest. Her name is Laura Wagner-Meyer. She is a fashion designer and specializes in fashion for women with disabilities. She was also born with a disability, but that hasn't held her back at all. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you for having me.
Let's jump straight into it.
Cool.
I mean, so you were born with a disability.
Yes.
Can you tell us about your disability and what causes it?
Sure. So it's a congenital neural tube defect, and it's basically a genetic disorder, so to say, and it affected my spine the day that I was born, which has affected obviously a number of things. So just to sum it up, my spine is basically curved and I use crutches to walk and get around.
And how did this affect you and your family growing up?
I think luckily it hadn't been too much of a problem, so to say. I think with my mom and her pregnancy, it was quite difficult, having a child and knowing that they're going to be born with a disability. And, she was very headstrong during that time. She kind of made the decision that, even though a lot of people were saying, terminate the pregnancy, don't go ahead, it's going to be tough. She said, as long as her heart is still beating, I'm going to give her a chance. And, I was only given 48 hours to live. And I think as a mother, that can also be quite tough. And she just said she took it one day at a time, and she's really good with blocking out that kind of noise. And I think after the 48-hour mark, everyone could just breathe. And I think what was really nice is that she made a decision very early on that I'm going to live without limits, without fear, because, if we can make it through 48 hours, who knows how far I could make it. And yeah, I think that kind of set the tone for the rest of the family as well. I haven't had any limitations, and I haven't had any difficulties health-wise. I've been perfectly healthy all the years, no pain. So we are very lucky. We're very, very lucky that it hasn't affected our family at all. Everyone knows that I'm very normal and very active. Yeah.
And you also have a twin sister.
Yes.
I can see her now, but I'm going to ask this for the sake of the podcast. Was she born with a disability?
Yeah, not at all. She didn't have it at all. So we were we're quite a unique little pair. I think that's how I was lucky to grow up. I think she also kind of set the tone by treating me really normally throughout school. I think everyone realized that I'm very capable because of having her by my side.
So we're going to do a little bit of a segment here. I've got Laura and her sister Emma, her twin sister. And they're going to tell us a little bit about what it was like to grow up with each other.
Yeah.
Take it away. Just throwing you in the deep end.
So for living with a sister with a disability, I would say that, for us it was quite normal. We didn't see her as having a disability. When my little brother was doing karate, he would hit her just as hard as he would hit me. And he would be merciless. So, we haven't had much of an issue really. There were certain things that we couldn't do because Laura couldn't do them. So I couldn't have roller skates, or we didn't go ice skating, just because my mom felt that it wouldn't be fair to allow one twin to do something and not the other. But other than that, I think we did most of the same things.
Yeah, I think because I lived without limitations, I would really just want to keep up with her. I think that's what really drove me as a kid. Screw everything else. As long as I can keep up with Emma, that's all I wanted. Especially, absolutely anything that we would do. It could be, I think recently we did acro branch, where you're hanging in the air and having to move on those lines. I thought if she's up there, I'm going to be up
Acro
there.
branch by Hout Bay?
Yes.
Oh, I did that.
It's hectic.
It's hectic.
But I saw her there and I'm like, I can do that too, So it's little things. She really just keeps me going in that sense.
And she's faster than me, by the way.
In what way?
Problem. No, she's quicker than I am. I'm very slow,
everywhere.
clumsy, cautious. There was one time my mom put new floors in, and she had this wooden beam across the floor. And she told us, girls, walk across the beam and do not touch the wet cement. She threatened us. Laura, on all four, legs and crutches, goes 1, 2, 3 over the beam. I go 1, 2, foot in the cement, and I got her hiding straight down the passage. And my mom was like, your sister with 4 legs could get over the plank and you couldn't. And I was like, yeah. So I've just accepted she can do most things. I think she can actually do more than I can at this stage.
And you were telling me a story just now about some sort of marathon?
Yes.
The spring walk.
No, there was a running race.
Oh, yes.
We had, I think it was a Mother's Day race, but then the kids could run first. And we all had to run. Obviously, I was the slowest, but Laura also took part. And the teachers didn't think that she could. They didn't put her name down on the list originally. But she decided to do it, and she ran. And my mom said she looked like an adorable mechanical spider going down the side of the grass patch. She did very well, I must say. Yeah.
I think it was just, again, limitations. I didn't want, because of the fact that they didn't include me, I thought, okay, I'll do it myself. I think I jumped in at a certain way. Like, as soon as they started, I hopped in. I just started running as if I was part of it because I wanted to be.
And I know you guys are twins, so it doesn't really matter. But who was born first?
I was.
You know, it's almost like you can just tell. It's the weirdest thing. It's. I just felt like you were older.
Yeah.
By what, like 7 seconds?
4 minutes.
4 minutes.
And she makes it feel like 4 years. I promise you. There was one birthday when she was like, guys, you have to sing for me first and then wait 4 minutes and then sing
we'll
for
go.
Emma. And I was like, really? Really?
And I mean, I guess it kind of applies both ways. But as the younger sister, did you ever feel protective over your older sister?
Definitely. Always. I mean, there was a part of me that was worried about what people would say about her and if she would face some sort of negativity. So I was overly protective over her, but I actually think that she was worse when it came to me.
Yeah.
Especially with boys. Oh my word. Laura did not take any nonsense. She was
Not at
strict.
all.
She'd ask them 50,000 questions first. And what are your intentions with my sister? That kind of a thing. So I think she's actually more protective than I am. I can be, but because I've seen her get through this life and do all these things that she's doing, I think I've kind of let go of the reins a little bit because she is quite capable. She's more than capable.
I just imagine you sitting at home, like after a date. Or like
It's like tiny person.
no, the boy is like coming to pick your sister up, and you're in like a swivel chair. And you like turn around, and you're like,
No, I was very intimidating.
interrogation.
I was really.
Oh, she's bad.
Oy. And I completely blank now. I had a question.
You're picturing Laura in a chair in a little suit and a cat on her lap.
And I mean, what was it like? Did you guys obviously go to the same school?
Yeah. Same school, same class up until I think we were split for 2 or 3 grades in primary school.
Yeah.
And then high school, we were put in the same class, but we actually asked to be separated. Just because the dynamic when we're both in the same space is like we both have, what's the word? We have bold personalities. So put two of us in the same room and it's chaos for the teacher because she doesn't know where to give her energy to and which
start
twin
clashing.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So in high school, we were in different classes, which worked out quite fine for us. I think when we were in the same class, the thing I hated was having to carry her bag. Oh my word, to every single class, I'd have to carry 2 school bags. But even then, I think the school stepped up quite well because we had boys on a roster now, each carrying her bag in our class. The teacher made it compulsory. They're like, okay, it's your turn today. Take the bag.
And I think to end off, have you guys ever had any like weird twin telepathy moments?
Yes.
100%. I think it freaks us out most of the time too when it happens. Like, whoa, did we just do that? I think, it happens often.
When we were driving, the one time we tested it. So we were driving 8 hours or 9 hours from Cape Town to East London. And my mom was like, Laura, do you know what Emma's thinking right now while she's looking out of the window? And I saw a picture of a burger. And I'm like, ooh, burger. And immediately Laura was like, it's a burger. And my mom was like, what? No! How did you know that? And she's like, I know, Emma. I know what you would look at. The burger would catch her eye, obviously. And mom was like... She always has moments where she looks at us and she's like, you're such twins.
Yeah.
Or we have a video call and I'm speaking to my mom and she's like, oh my word, you look like your sister when you dip your head down like that and then you put it up again to the light. So yeah, we do have twin telepathy moments. We have twin moments. I think it's more shocking for my mom than it is for us because the whole world comes to a standstill when she notices that we look quite the same.
Yeah.
You do look very similar.
You think?
I think so. But anyway, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now back to the program. And, I mean, what kind of misconceptions do you think people have about people with disabilities?
I think the first is that we're weak and not determined or driven. And I think every person with a disability that I've interacted with, they're so driven. They're trying to, break out of this box that we've been put into, which is fantastic. And I I think apart from that, they also just assume that we have all these troubles and it's such a depressing thing to have a disability. I mean, I'll be walking in the shop and you just hear people saying, oh, shame, you hear around shame, shame, shame all around you. And it's far from the truth. We live very happy lives. I don't think I could be more proud to be a woman living with a disability, especially during this time. And I think those two in itself are one of the two biggest misconceptions that I've faced personally as well. I've learned that a lot of people just aren't educated on disabilities. I think last year I met a man in his 40s and he looked at me and he said, you are the first person I've ever met in 40 years with a disability. Honestly and truly, he had never seen one, never spoken to one. And then I think it just clicked for me that they genuinely just don't know because of, society limiting us, we aren't visible. I'm very lucky that I'm able to maneuver around and, navigate the space, whereas others have a challenging time, especially in wheelchairs. So I think I know that there's two sides to every coin, so I don't take it personally or get offended at all. I'd rather take the time to, have a conversation and say, this is what my life's actually like.
And help educate people.
Exactly, because after that, they leave and they're like, oh my goodness, I had no idea. So, it's almost like a spiraling effect, especially in the work that we do. After you get used to the idea of disabilities and you see it in a different light, it's starting to affect the greater society as well.
And I think people like you are changing those misconceptions.
I hope so.
Because you're so open to talking about it,
Yeah.
And I think that's important because,
Yeah.
like you say, a lot of people do live sheltered lives and they
Yes.
don't get the opportunity to talk to people that are in the situations that you're in.
Yeah.
And when they talk to someone like you, they very quickly realize that this person is physically maybe disabled, but mentally,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong. And I
Yeah.
think they start to look at people with disabilities in a different light.
Yeah, exactly. I think they're a bit more empathetic than what they would have been after a simple conversation. It could even be like 2 minutes or 5 minutes. Because I think a lot of people also assume, like you said, that I'm struggling mentally. And then we have a conversation. They're like, oh my goodness, if I hadn't spoken to you right now, I wouldn't have known. So it is, again, one of the, it's quite, it's challenging, but I think we're getting there slowly but surely.
I hope so.
Me too.
So I want to get into fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And as you can see, I dressed up today.
Thank you.
Not very well. This is like what I consider dressing up. If someone asked me to come to a party and they were like, it's fancy dress, this is my fancy dress. So, I mean, when did you discover fashion?
When I was younger, I think I was like maybe 5 or 6. And I was flipping through magazines and I just got into pop culture and the trends that came from it, especially when red carpet events were massive and you really wanted to be on top of it and see who was wearing what. So it was always like a bit of an interest, but I didn't really know that you could actually do fashion as a career until I got to, I think, matric or grade 11. And we did this little fashion show, like a local fashion show. And I think after that, I was just hooked because I didn't realize, it's a profession. And my mentor at the time said, you really can study this. Like, I think you should do it. And honestly, I just haven't looked back since. And it's just been a natural fit, starting from when I was younger. Now that I'm older, it's just, it's been a fun ride.
You mentioned mentor.
Yes.
What was... What were they helping you with?
So the late Miss Estelle van Pletzen, we were working together on the fashion show. So she was my seamstress. I was the designer and we created together. We did 2 fashion shows. And I was always watching her sew. I just didn't know how to. So she was the one who said, come, let me show you. And obviously I can't use the foot pedal of sewing. So she taught me how to sew with my hands. And, she was really good with just trying to explain to me, like, this is how a machine works. This is how an outfit works. She designed my matric farewell dress. And that was the first time I had something tailored to my body. And she really took the time and she said, this is how we work with different shapes. She wasn't, taunted by the task. She said, this is how we're going to do it. And she really spoke me through it so that it felt real. I think after working with her, it really just sparked that interest to be able to do that for others.
So was that the moment when you realized that you wanted to focus on fashion for people with disabilities?
Yes, because she was just really positive about it and just so excited. I think once we saw the dress and the end result, it was just beautiful. And I think she also just felt really proud that we could do it. So I think as soon as you get over that first hurdle, you just don't look back.
And something I was thinking about was, society isn't built for people with disabilities.
Yeah.
It's built for the masses.
Yes.
Do you struggle to find clothes that fit you?
100%. I think I always have. Especially when we're teenagers and, trying to get into the trends and you're trying to, absorb yourself with that culture. I always just had to take a bit of a step back because, like you said, it's designed for the masses and a huge demographic is left out. I could never find something that was perfect, or if I did, it took a lot of time to do. I wish that I had the ability to be able to, when it's those last minute events, you just need to run in and grab something. I don't have the luxury of that. And I never have. So I know, I've got to like mentally prepare myself to shop because it's going to be a long day just trying to figure out how we can, just dress my body.
And I don't know how it is in other countries, but I think South Africa is probably so far behind when it comes to many things. I mean, when it comes to diet, when it comes to, you know what I mean? Like,
yes.
I've been to places and there's just like vegetarian restaurants everywhere and all that kind of stuff. And here, the transportation system, nothing is built for people with disabilities.
No.
And I mean, is this something that you think is getting better or not really?
To be very honest, I think, well, okay, our issue here, I think, with the government is that they've designed based on guidelines that were set years ago. They haven't moved beyond that. With each building guideline, you have to have a parking bay, you have to have a lift. But no one thinks beyond that. They don't think, how is a person going to get from the door to the lift? You end up walking further just to find a lift. It's simple things like that. Whereas on a smaller scale, if you go into, we were chatting about sets earlier, being on set, people are more considered. And I've had a seamless experience on set. Haven't had any troubles, not even on locations. I think as soon as people start thinking and really, trying to decipher and map out places, that's when it works. And I hope it reaches a bigger scale. But I think on a smaller scale, studios are doing very well. I'm starting to see it on my own personal experiences. But on a larger scale, I think the only thing they've been able to get right is maybe the parking bays because they're readily available. But then the problem there comes in regulating them. Sometimes you arrive and there's cars who aren't supposed to be there parked there. So it's a lot of, I think, back and forth until we can get it right, unfortunately. But I think we are getting there.
I think what this past 2 or 3 years has taught everyone, because obviously there's, especially with social media, people are speaking out about problems and creating awareness. And I think this past 2 years has taught a lot of people to be more open-minded.
Yeah.
It's shined a light on many issues.
Yes.
And I think people are slowly starting to be more considerate.
Yeah, I think especially after COVID, when we were so vulnerable, you start thinking more, you're seeing social media more, you've got more time on your hands to actually think about things. I think that's also why I entered the industry at like the perfect time. I always say if I had to do this maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I wouldn't have the same opportunities that I do now. COVID has definitely contributed to that in a way. Definitely.
I want to talk about your fashion brand now.
Okay.
Will you tell me a little bit about it?
Yes. So it's in the developmental stages. So the end goal, we've got quite a task on our hands actually, but the end goal would be to meet the needs of women with disabilities in South Africa. And I want to create something that's not just going to make you feel comfortable, but confident as well. I think the end goal would be to empower people with disabilities with this collection. With the brand itself.
I think I saw an interview with you and you said, I don't want people to just feel comfortable.
Yeah.
I want them to feel sexy as well.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. Because, we're women, we're feminine, even men, we all want to feel a type of way. We've had clothing, as a form of expression for years. And I just don't think it's fair that a certain demographic hasn't had the chance to do that. So, yeah, I really am centered on just creating that emotion and the self-expression.
Self-expression.
But, yeah. Yeah, so I think the end goal is just to really meet the needs. And so I really want people with disabilities to feel as if someone's listening. For years we've kind of just been brushed to the side, but I really want them to feel that someone is on their side and we're getting this done for them. So yeah, it's like I said, it's a big task. So I really want to take my time with it. I know there's a lot of pressure to get this brand out like next year. But disabilities, they're so diverse and there's such a wide range. And I want to make sure that I've at least tried to cover as much ground as I could have before even just launching and even designing. I'm really putting a lot of thought into it and taking my time with this one.
And, you're only 22, right?
23.
23.
Yeah.
So you've got some time.
Lots of time.
You've got lots of time.
Exactly.
But I mean, the fashion industry can be really hard to break into.
Yeah.
How do you plan on doing that? And like, because you want to make waves, you know,
Yes.
you want to be, you want to get your brand out there.
Yes.
So what is your plan of action?
I think, well, in my case, I think I'm just lucky that I've got the art of consideration on my side. You know, I'm really putting the thought into it. So I think by the time it launches, I wanted to have that wow factor because the fact that the garments are well considered, because we have it fitting properly, because we've got good quality. So I think by the time it launches, it's going to be, you know, a spectacle on its own just because of the fact that we were able to do it right. You know, I don't just want to do it for the sake of doing it. I wanted to actually make an impact and make the change. And yeah, I think the brand will definitely speak for itself when the time comes.
Well, I think it's going to be very unique. And like we said, probably the only brand
Yeah. Well, locally.
locally that's what I mean. Yeah, that is
Yes.
doing what you're doing.
Yes.
And are you going to be custom making every piece to fit a specific person?
Unfortunately, I don't think that would be possible.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, I think I'm being very realistic. And as much as I would really like to, we're trying to just adjust what we already have to work with and try and figure the way out, you know, with what we have. And I think if there are cases, maybe I've missed a type of body type or, you know, we're just not getting it right for a certain body shape, I'd be more than willing to do it, you know, and have custom orders coming in apart from the brand. But realistically, I don't think we'd be able to do it, unfortunately.
So when I actually asked the question, you know what came to mind was the way Levi's do it.
Yes.
Where I think with Levi jeans, they kind of make the standard sizes.
Yes.
And then, obviously, they're a massive company.
Yeah.
But you can take them to a tailor for free and
Yes.
have them like, is that correct? They like tailored
Yes.
to you?
It's exactly what I'm looking at.
So I think at the beginning, it's good to start with just things that will work for certain body types. Obviously, try to cover as much as you can,
Yeah.
which I'm sure you are doing. And then hopefully, if this blows up, you have like seamstresses everywhere, you know?
That is the plan. I promise you that's the plan. Because I realize, you know, I'm going to miss out on certain body shapes. And again, the whole idea of this brand is to make everyone feel included. So I'm really thinking it through. I've got this giant book that is like filled with all of my ideas, just trying to map it all together. Because like I said, it's a huge task.
It's massive.
It's huge. And I'm like one little person, so it's gonna be fun, I think.
With a big heart, though.
Thank you.
I mean, and what are your goals for your brand? Like, where do you want it to go within the next, say, 5 years?
Well, launched first of all within the next 5 years, definitely. And I think I would like it just to really just resonate with people, whether you're living with a disability or not. I kind of want it to be the space where every sort of body type feels welcome. You know, I'm trying to make it as fully inclusive as I can, not just for people with disabilities, but, you know, blended. And there's so many different things. So I think the end goal would definitely to be creating a community around the brand more than anything. I think that is all that I would like.
I think that's what helps make brands successful sometimes, you know, is when they feel a part of it.
Yeah.
Which is a really great idea.
Yeah, because I mean, we're different and she's able-bodied, and I wouldn't want to exclude her. We've grown up with our differences.
So will you be making your clothes for people that don't have disabilities as well?
We're looking at it.
Okay.
But yeah, the idea is that we kind of just cater to everyone. You know, I would like, you know, if you have people with disabilities as family members, for you to be able to go as a family together and shop in this kind of space together. I don't want to create a space where you feel like it's for one type. You know, it's like I said, it's that sense of community that I really want to build more than anything.
Because usually when you go shopping with your family or even friends,
Yeah.
it's like everyone has to go to different places and
Exactly.
you're constantly running around. So it'd be so
Exactly.
nice to have a place where you can just go
Exactly.
and everyone can find something for themselves.
Exactly.
I also want to ask you about your modeling.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, when did you start modeling?
I started in April this year. I was signed. So it's been, 7 or 8 months already?
And who are you signed with?
I'm signed with Topco here in Cape Town.
What is your experience like? What has your experience been like personally in the modeling space?
I think it was it's like having a bit of a spiritual awakening. Going into it, I thought it was going to be quite cutthroat and intimidating. And I was very nervous, even just having the interview with Topco. I thought I'm going into, a hectic space and everyone's just going to be screaming at me. But it was great. Everyone is so welcoming. I think what's nice is that the agency is also trying to make this change. They're also trying to bring people with disabilities to the forefront, which is just making the job so much easier. And I think just personally, again, I feel really empowered because I'm not alone on this journey. Every set that I go on to, we're all in this together. And that's been, I think, one of the best parts of the whole journey is that it's a collective. It's not just me, it's a whole community that's working together on it with me.
And will you be modeling in your own clothes?
If I don't find someone who matches my body type, then I might have to.
I think I saw a video, and it was, was it a promotional video for your brand? It was on
yes,
the interview you did on Cake Nets.
Yes, that was my third year collection. So what I tried to do is, by the time you get to your third year, it's the best year. You kind of get to just do a collection that represents you. And I thought, let's test it out. If there's ever a time, let's do it now. I've got the support of, my lecturers and there's some guidance. So that was kind of just testing the waters to see what I can and can't do. And I definitely learned a lot during that time. And because of that, I can now understand how to move forward, especially with body shapes. I know what not to do and what I can do, which has also helped just with the decisions and creating the clothing and what type of clothing we're looking at.
I found that video already, like you were saying, the brand will speak for itself. I find just watching that video made an impact. You know, because it was just like so different.
Yes.
And so refreshing.
Yes.
Is it your video?
Yes, we had to make it as a part of your assignment. You had to create this video and portray your images. And again, I was thinking back and I said, I want this to make an impact. I want you to see it and just be like, wow. And I think when we got that reaction from that video, I knew, okay, we'll be fine with the brand. I never had to worry.
We're going places.
We'll be good.
And I think the community will probably show their support as well.
Yeah.
Because people appreciate when you go out of your way to do something different and unique.
Yeah.
Especially when you're trying to, when it relates to them.
Yes. I'm 23, and this year has been the first year that I've interacted with so many people with disabilities, especially over social media. They've either seen the collection or read an article, and they'll really message me and just say thank you. And, we'll be in touch. And I really like just the connection that we've been building, because I really just want to understand other people with disabilities. I know my own experiences, but I don't know theirs personally. So by, having these conversations and really getting to know each person, it's just helped a lot. And it's been fantastic, honestly.
And to finish off,
yes,
I want to ask you, what does the future hold for you? And we kind of asked this with the brand earlier, but what does the future hold for you in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah.
When it comes to the brand, when it comes to your personal life, where do you want to be?
Stable, first of all, in 5 to 10 years. But I think, I really would like to see the brand thriving within the next 10 years. I've got a very good idea of what I want it to be and, how I would like to get it there. So if anything, I would like it, to kind of just sit back and just watch everything come. And I'd like to see, the visibility of people with disabilities start coming up. I want to see more models with disabilities. I want to see more figures in TV adverts. And, it's just seeing and visualizing and physically interacting with different kinds of people. I think that's what I want more out of the next 5 to 10 years.
I think you're quite like me, where it's like, if someone asks me that question, I'm also like, I want my work to be going really well.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't care about my health. I don't care about getting married.
Not at all.
Dog, I don't know. Maybe I'll have a dog. I don't know.
Exactly.
But it's awesome to see someone that is so focused and got their mind set.
Thank you.
And they know what they have to do to achieve it.
Yeah.
And I can guarantee that you will achieve it.
Thank you. I'm excited now.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
It's been absolutely incredible. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Wide Awake podcast, and we'll see you next week.
Done.
Done deal.